I'm convinced it's not about working less thoughts. What matters, and they find it fast. So today, we're going to test it. I'm putting one low stakes player and one high stakes pro through the same 6 hands. You're going to hear exactly how both of them think, and we're tracking results on every single hand to see who wins more imaginary mark dollars. By the end, you'll see even common spots different, what to notice, what to prioritize, and what exactly you fit this. 6 hands, 2 brains, and 1 player will walk away with bragging rights forever. Let's meet the players. You introduce yourself.
CoinPoker, aka Abby Merck, if you know me personally. But if you know me,
Hey, Abby, you know Abby.
grinder. Yeah, fun player, happy player, low stakes player. I have before. I mean, I've definitely played. I did take a couple of shot takes recently. Not no gamble in the future. Called off before it yeah, I'll be revisiting those anytime soon. But I'm working really hard, so hopefully I can or a bit more big guys, you know.
Hey guys, I'm Alex. I'm coach from CoinPoker. I play 510 plus.
It's 5'10". Yeah. All right, Alex, let me ask you before we start, how do you predict this is going to go without seeing the hands so far? You're going to be able to win more imaginary money.
Hope so. All
right, so the very first hand here, we're playing 5'10". We're going to be 1,800 effective with fish in the cutoff who's going to open. We're going to 3-bet on the button with the 8-7 of spades to win 120. And now the cutoff is going to call. Flop comes 9-6-3 with 1 spade. So now let's kick it over to the players and see how they think through this.
Cool. So right off the bat, we're identifying our opponent as a fish, which means normally they can have a bit wider of a range of hands than you might be used to seeing. However, even with fish, while they can be a little bit extra sticky, I would say in general, it doesn't really matter because we have so much equity on this board. So immediately my heart goes to betting. We have backdoor spades, open it straight draw on the flop. And honestly, we might have outs to a pair as well. I can't say I really think that when we're getting called in 3-bet pot, we're good a lot of the time, even versus a fish. Just considering, especially when the board comes this low, that if we were ahead pre-flop by some, magical way, there's actually still hands that we used to think we close with 3-4 suited or something like that. We can actually not be buying one. So it's gonna do it tough. I don't think that this is going to be a one-man done situation. But when it comes to sizing, I think that so actually just say this too. One thing that I've been really working on in my game recently has been to either choose big sizes, small sizes. You have to list on that, just watch that. Shameless plug, I'm here for it. And I think that on this board, I would go with a smaller sizing in general. So I guess I would say maybe quarter pot, so maybe like $60 to $70 would be my sizing.
Final answer.
Yeah, I would say that. I just think that he should float us with a lot of 8-3 comes and
20. And now,
know that I
let me ask you before we start, how do you predict this is going to go without seeing the hand so far? Win more imaginary money in these things. So the very first hand here, we're playing 5-10. We're going to be 1,800 effective with a fish in the cutoff who's going to open. We're going to 3-bet on the button with the 8-7 of spades to 120. And now the cutoff is going to call. Flop comes 9-6-3 with 1 spade. So now let's kick it over to the players and see how they think through this.
Cool. So right off the bat, we're identifying our opponent as a fish, which means normally they can have a bit wider of a range of hands than you might be used to seeing. However, even with fish, while they can be a little bit extra sticky, I would say in general, it doesn't really matter because we have so much equity on this board. So immediately my heart goes to betting. We have backdoor spades, open it straight draw on the flop. And honestly, we might have outs to a pair as well. I can't say I really think that when we're getting called in 3-bet pot, we're good a lot of the time, even versus a fish, just considering, especially when the board comes this low, that if we were ahead pre-flop by some, magical way, there's actually still hands that we lose to. Think he floats with like 3-4 suited or something like that. We can actually not beat that anymore. So it's going to be a bit tough. I don't think that this is like going to be a one bet and done situation. But when it comes to sizing, I think I can bet. So actually, let me say this too. One thing that I've been really working on in my game recently has been to either choose big sizes or small sizes. You have your first video on that. Just watch that one. The shameless plug. I'm here for it. And I think that in this on this board, I would go with the smaller size in general. So I guess I would say maybe quarter pot, so maybe like $60 to $70 would be my sizing.
Final answer.
Yeah, I would say that. I just think that he should float us with a lot of like ace highs type thing, and then obviously if he has a pair or anything like that, they'll still float us no matter what we bet. But in all of the things that I just said, we still get a lot of folds from things like 2 overs that might not fold out. But again, that's me using my 1-3 like background a little bit as well.
Are you going 60 or 70?
I'll go 70.
Okay, so we go 70 and guess what's gonna happen? Check raises.
Yeah.
Check raises to 210. Back to you.
Yeah, we're just calling here. We're in position. If we had like strong hands, we would absolutely be calling here. For example, over pairs or things like that. And our hand just like has so much equity, and fish tend to do stuff that doesn't really make sense. And we can still like our range is still strong. So I'm not super worried about it. I'm just saying things. I feel like I'm gonna get shredded. I'm kind of nervous, but low key, we're just gonna go with that. That's what I'm thinking. I'm not there.
Yeah, you don't like remember, like we don't need to sound like poker smart. Just give me your honest thoughts. That's all. Your honest thoughts. Your fault. Why your fault?
Because genuinely, we just have too much equity, and we are in position, so we have a lot of maneuverability on different, like more streets, and we can still have strong hands like over pairs that the pitch could just be like this is a dry semi-unconnected pair, like situation change of hands. Then we might be used to seeing. However, even with fish, while they can be a little bit extra, we have so much equity.
Spades to 120, and now the cutoff is going to flop comes 9-6-3 with 1 spade. So now let's kick it over to the players and see how they think through this.
Cool. So right off the bat, we're identifying our opponent as a fish, which means normally they can have a bit wider of a range of hands than you might be used to seeing. However, even with fish, while they can be a little bit extra, I would say in general, doesn't really matter because we have so much equity on this board. So immediately my heart goes to betting. We have backdoor spades, open it straight draw on the flop. And honestly, we might have outs to a pair as well. I can't say I really think that when we're getting called a 3-bet pot, we're good a lot of the time, even versus a fit. Just considering, especially when the board comes this low, that if we were ahead pre-flop by some, magical way, there's actually still hands that we lose to. Think he floats with like 3-4 suited or something like that. We can actually not beat that anymore. So it's going to be a bit tough. I don't think that this is like going to be a one bet and done situation. But when it comes to sizing, I think we can bet. So actually, let me say this too. One thing that I've been really working on in my game recently has been to either choose big sizes or small sizes. You have your first video on that. Just watch that one. The shameless plug. I'm here for it. And I think that on this board, I would go with a smaller size in general. So I guess I would say maybe quarter pot, so maybe like $60 to $70 would be my size.
Final answer.
Yeah, I would say that. I just think that he he should float us with a lot of like ace highs type thing, and then obviously if he has a pair or anything like that, they'll still float us no matter what we bet. But all the things that I just said, we still get a lot of folds from things like 2 overs that might not fold out. But again, that's me using my 130 like background a little bit as well.
Are you going 60 or 7?
I'll go 7.
Okay, so we go 70, and guess what's going to happen? The fish check raises.
Yeah.
He check raises to 210. Back to you.
Yeah, we're just calling here. We're in position. If we had like strong hands, we would absolutely be calling here. For example, over pairs or things like that. And our hand just like has so much equity, and fish tend to do stuff that doesn't really make sense. And we can still like our range is still strong, so I'm not super worried about it. I'm just saying things. I feel like I'm gonna get shredded. I'm kind of nervous, but low key, we're just gonna go with that. That's what I'm thinking. I'm not thinking.
Yeah, remember, we don't need to sound like poker smart. Just give me your honest thoughts. That's all.
Okay, pure call.
Honest thoughts. Why pure call?
Because genuinely, we just have too much equity, and we are in position, so we have a lot of maneuverability on different more streets, and we can still have strong hands like over pairs that the fish could just be like. This is a dry, semi-unconnected board. He might just be stabbing for, I don't really think his range only contains like sets here. Like, I don't think we're ahead, but I think we have maneuverability on future streets.
Okay, cool. So the turn is going to be a king of spades. So now we got backdoor spades up.
Fun, left.
And now the fish is actually going to check. So walk us through what you're thinking here on this turn.
Oh, interesting. Okay. So the king of spades is interesting because obviously the king of backdoor spades gives us more equity and ways to win this hand. The problem is, I still think that, for example, if our opponent check raised us with something on the flop like 10s, something that wanted to call pre-flop, sees a queen flop, and now has, like seems scary card on the turn, I just don't know that he's like folding if we bet right now, but then also I don't know that we have enough king X in our range to kind of like rep like king. Also, if we bet he raises again, we're kind of just like in that next spot because we can never fold. But I think if he raises again, like double check raise favor, we also can't jam because at this point, let's see, we've invested, 330, we're 1.8k effective. I don't know what to do.
Yeah, you got the side. They're all looking at everybody at the table staring at you right now. Why are you so slow?
I think realistically, I would check back.
So we are going to check. And now the river is the queen of spades.
Oh, amazing. We're just not in here always.
See,
We've got this
you make it. Backdoor flush. I'm not going to tell you. Make the backdoor flush, and now the fish checks once again.
Okay, so at this point, I don't think. Oh, well, first of all, 100% we have the best hand. That's the first thing that's going through my head. Obviously, if fish backdoors like a stronger flush, there's no possible chance that that's going to happen a turn. And literally,
I got a set. I don't know what he want me to do. Unless he got a set of tens. I don't know. What the fuck he gonna do? It'd be crazy if we hit the flush. It is what it is. Damn, he thought I hit the flush. I had trips, bro.
on the river either. So 100% sure we have the best hand. So we're going to be betting for value at this point. And realistically, all things considered, I put really nothing. Like really nothing. That's what I'm thinking to myself. I think that the line looks to me a lot like stab flop, scare card turn, very scary river, but he still could have something like, tens, maybe jacks that just really hates this, would love to see a check back. I think at this point I want to bet small again, to be honest with you. I would probably bet, let's see, there's 675 in the pot. I think that I would probably bet 275 ish, just under half pot. And I would hope that my opponent might get crazy. It's a fish, right? Like if he sees ace of spades in your hand, like maybe he goes for check raise river or like spazzes with like tens with a spade or something, right? Or like jacks with a spade or something like that. But realistically, maybe he gets tricky or not tricky, sticky and calls with ace high and things like that. I actually think 275 might be a little big. Can I change my answer? Can I go?
You change your answer. All right.
Okay, I want to go instant. I want to go like 200. Yeah.
Final answer.
Yeah, that's my final answer. And then obviously, okay, we'll see what he does.
Call.
Okay, sure.
This fish is calling it 3-bet too wide. I do 4 betting, so I think the range is wide over. Check over to me. I think they're going to be on that. All sides. Strong stuff, call weak stuff, something like that.
Okay, so you're going to go 100, and now the villain is going to check raise. So walk me through your thought process here after getting check raised on the flop.
I get check raise, that's fine. What is my flex range here? Well, I don't think they check raise bluffs, so I think they go to the range, with my sets. And first time range in position, fairly deep, 1.8k effective. I have an open ender. So possible opportunities on future streets to take away from my opponent, so I have enough equity to call this check raise.
So we are going to call, and now the turn is going to be a king of spades, bringing in a backdoor spade draw. And now your opponent check raise on the flop is going to slow down here and check. So what are your thoughts at this point?
Now I think my opponent is going to be tapped. So I think if they did on 9, 6s, 3s, they would continue bet here on the turn after check raising the flop. So their range is going to look like hands, jacks, basically. So I think I'm going to I don't want my opponent to fold right now. I want to build a bigger pot later. So I'm going to choose the biggest size I can go that is called by like ace 9 or pocket 10s. If I had to get pocket 10s to fold here when the king comes on the turn, I think those hands are going to be pretty elastic. I think if I go like $500, they would fold 10s, maybe 400. So I'd go like 350 or so to keep those hands in.
So we're going to go 350. We're going to get a call. Now the pot is going to be 1555 going to the river. The river is the queen of spades, bringing in the backdoor flush, and the fish is going to check it over.
Wait, what?
Okay, I don't think much changes here other than the fact that now I don't want my opponent to fold.
How is this pot so small? Did I not raise it? I don't know what the fuck I did. That's so weird. Why was that pot so small?
Now I just want to choose a size that I think 10s or jacks is going to call. So if I need to make those hands fold, that big here, right? Ace king gets there on the turn, and a hand like jacks or 10s is significantly diminished. I don't think they necessarily see the backdoor flush too often, but they definitely see that a king or a queen is out there. So I don't think I can go that big for value. I think I would like maybe like 5. If I had to get the fold, I'd probably go.
So what's your final answer?
So fine.
500, and villain is going to call, and they're going to flash pocket jacks. And
Oh, I'm a legend. Oh, I'm a legend. Oh my god, I put this hand perfection. Holy shit.
so Abby decided to see bet small on the flop, and she called the check raise. So far, so good. I am on board here with the position making. Now the cutoff checks it over here on the turn. There's a lot of talking here from Abby about our range, what hand we have. A little bit of fear crept in, like, what happens if we get check raised here, which is just what hands are really going to check raise us here realistically on this turn. And she kind of decided to check it back here on the turn, which I don't necessarily love because I just don't think we're ever going to blow off our equity here. Like, a player is never going to check raise on the flop and hit like sixes or threes or something like that, and then check now on the turn. Right? It's just the frequency of that happening is going to be so low. So Abby does decide to check it back here on the turn. I think she did a really nice job on this river, putting the cutoff on a range here and just pretty much nailing what hand the cutoff has. Just saying, well, we have to go small here for money call. She went 200 on this river. Maybe thought she could size up just a little, maybe 250, something like that. But I thought overall her river plan was pretty damn good here. Alex decided to go just a little bit bigger on the flop, but pretty much same thing here. Calls the check raise. And then on the turn here, you see how much quicker Alex was than Abby at ranging the villain and how quickly he was able to come up with a plan here. Alex quickly deduced that his opponent is going to have a ton of pocket tens, pocket jacks, 9x here. You hear Alex talking about something interesting on this turn, talking about how he wants to size down on the turn to make sure a hand like jacks or tens does not fold here. So Alex has to go small on this turn to try to keep those hands that are scared by the king around for the river. And then when Alex gets her on the river, keeps that coherent line of thought. Our opponent probably has a relatively weak hand, jacks, eights, nines, something like that. So Alex does size down this river, going smaller than 1/3 pot to try to get a grind call. And the opponent does call. And the reveal in this hand is the cutoff actually has pocket jacks. So in the first hand, Abby wins 545 marked dollars for 54.5 big blinds. Alex up 1285 for 128 big blinds here. So Alex taking a 50, something like that. But I thought overall her river plan was pretty damn good here. Alex decided to go just a little bit bigger on the flop, but pretty much same thing here. Calls the check raise. And then on the turn here, you see how much quicker Alex was than Abby at ranging the villain and how quickly he was able to come up with a plan here. Alex quickly deduced that his opponent is going to have a ton of pocket tens, pocket jacks here. You hear Alex talking about something interesting on this turn, talking about how he wants to size down on the turn to make sure a hand like jacks or tens does not fold here. So Alex actually goes small on this turn to try to keep those hands that are scared by the king around for the river. And then when Alex gets her on the river, keeps that coherent line of thought. Our opponent probably has a relatively weak hand, like jacks, ace, nine, something like that. So Alex does size down on this river, going smaller than 1/3 pot to try to get a grind call. And the opponent does call. And the reveal in this hand is the cutoff actually has pocket jacks. So in the first hand, Abby wins 545 marked dollars for 54. What happens if we get here? We hear Alex talking about something to call, and they're going to flash pocket jacks, and you win.
Oh, I'm a legend. Oh, I'm a legend. Oh my god, I played this hand with perfection. Holy shit.
So Abby decided to see bet small on the flop, and she called the check raise. So far, so good. I am on board here with the decision making. Now the cutoff checks it over here on the turn. There's a lot of talking here from Abby about our range, what hand we have, and a little bit of fear crept in, like, what happens if we get check raised here, which is just what hands are really going to check raise us here realistically on this turn. And she kind of decided to check it back here on the turn, which I don't necessarily love because I just don't think we're ever getting blown off our equity here. The player is never going to check raise on the flop and like sixes or threes and check now on the turn. Right? It's just the frequency of that happening is going to be so low. So Abby does decide to check it back here on the turn. I did think she did a really nice job on this river, putting the cutoff on a range here and just pretty much nailing what hand the cutoff has. Just saying, well, we have to go small here for money call. She went 200 on this river. Maybe thought she could size up just a little, maybe 250, something like that. But I thought overall her river plan was pretty damn good here. Alex decided to go just a little bit bigger on the flop, but pretty much same thing here. He calls the check raise. And then on the turn here, you see how much quicker Alex was than Abby at ranging the villain and how quickly he was able to come up with a plan here. Alex quickly deduced that his opponent is going to have a ton of pocket tens, pocket jacks, nines here. We hear Alex talking about something interesting on this turn, talking about how he wants to size down on the turn to make sure a hand like jacks or tens does not fold here. So Alex actually goes small on this turn to try to keep those hands that are scared by the king around for the river. And then when Alex answer on the river keeps that coherent line of thought. You know, our opponent probably has a relatively weak hand, max ace nine. So Alex does size down on this river, going smaller than 1/3 pot to try to get a prime call. And the opponent does call, and the reveal in this hand is the cutoff actually has pocket jacks. So in the first hand, Abby wins 545 mark dollars for 54.5 big blinds. Alex up 1285 for 128.5 big blinds here. So Alex taking a after the first hand. All right, guys, if you're enjoying hearing these thought processes from both a low stake
Float us with a lot of like ace highs. What I'm thinking to myself. I think that the line looks to me a lot like stab flop. That
and now your opponent check raise on the flop is going to slow down here. So what are your thoughts at this point?
Well, I think my opponent is going to be tap. So I think if they did have 9, 6s, 3s, they would continue that turn after check raise on the flop, so their range still look like hands, jacks, basically. So I pick up a lot of equity. I don't want my opponent to fold right now. I want to build a bigger pot later, so I'm going to choose the biggest size I can go that gets called by like ace 9 or pocket 10s. If I had to get pocket 10s to fold here when the king comes on the turn, I think those hands are going to be pretty elastic. I think if I go like $500, they would fold 10s, maybe 400. So I'd go like 350 or so. Those hands.
So we're going to go 350. We're going to get a call. Now the pot is going to be 15 going to the river. The river is the queen of spades, bringing in the backdoor flush, and the fish is going to check it over to.
And it's going to be flat. So
And now the
I go and then I'll get
why or that I just want to choose a small size that gets them for strong stuff, all the elite stuff, so I'm bet around $5 $100.
okay, so you're going to go 100, and now the villain is going to check raise to 300. So walk me through your thought process here after getting check raise.
I get check raise this time. What is my opponent's range here? Well, I don't think they check raise plus, so I think the majority of the range is going to look like sets. First half range in position, fairly deep, 1.8 effective. I know possible opportunities on future streets to take away from my opponent, so I have enough equity to call this check raise.
So we are going to call, and now the turn is going to be a king of spades, bringing in a backdoor spade draw. And now your opponent who check raise on the flop is going to slow down here. So what are your thoughts at this point?
Well, I think my opponent is going to be tapped. So I think if they did have 9, 6s, 3s, they would continue that turn after check raise on the flop, so their range still look like hands, jacks, basically. So I pick up a lot of equity. I don't want my opponent to fold right now. I want to build a bigger pot later, so I'm going to choose the biggest size I can go that gets called by like ace 9 or pocket 10s. If I had to get pocket 10s to fold here when the king comes on the turn, I think those hands are going to be pretty elastic. I think if I go like $500, they would fold 10s, maybe 400. So I'd go like 350 or so.
So we're going to go 350. We're going to get a call. Backdoor flush, and the fish is going to check it over to.
Okay, I don't think much changes here other than the fact that now I don't want my opponent to fold. So now I just want to choose the size that I think 10s or jacks is going to call. So if I have to make those hands fold, I don't think I need to go that big here, right? Ace king gets there on the turn, and like jacks or 10s is significantly diminished. I don't think they necessarily see the backdoor flush too often, but they definitely see that a king or a queen is out there. So I don't think I can go that big for value. I think I would like maybe like 500 value, 550. If I had to get the fold, I'd probably go.
So what's your balance?
So fine.
is going to call, and they're going to flash pocket jacks. And
Oh, legend! Oh, legend! Oh my god, I played this game with perfection. Holy shit.
so I'm excited to see bet small on the flop, and she called the check raise. So far, so good. I am on board here with the decision making. Now the cutoff checks it over here on the turn. There's a lot of talking here from Abby about our range, what hand we have, and a little bit of fear crept in, like, what happens if we get check raised here, which is just what hands are really going to check raise us here realistically on this turn. And she kind of decided to check it back here on the turn, which I don't necessarily love because I just don't think we're ever getting blown off. Player is never going to check up in like sixes or threes and check now on the turn, right? It's just the frequency of that happening is going to be so low. So Abby does decide to check it back here on the turn. I think she did a really nice job on this river, putting the cutoff on a range here and just pretty much nailing what hand the cutoff has. Just saying, well, we have to go small here if we want to call. She went 200 on this river. Maybe thought she could size up just a little, maybe 250, something like that. But I thought overall her river plan was pretty damn good here. Alex decided to go just a little bit bigger on the flop, but pretty much same thing here. Calls the check raise. And then on the turn here, you see how much quicker Alex was than Abby at ranging the villain and how quickly he was able to come up with a plan here. Alex quickly deduced that his opponent is going to have a ton of pocket tens, pocket jacks, 9X here. You hear Alex talking about something interesting on this turn, talking about how he wants to size down on the turn to make sure a hand like jacks or tens does not fold here. So Alex actually goes small on this turn to try to keep those hands that are scared by the king around for the river. And then when Alex gets there on the river, keeps that coherent line of thought. Our opponent probably has a relatively weak hand like tens, jacks, ace. So Alex does size down this river, going smaller than 1/3 pot to try to get a crying call, and the opponent does call. And the reveal in this hand is the cutoff actually has pocket jacks. So in the first hand, Abby wins 545 marked dollars for 54.5 big blinds. Alex up 1285 for 128.5 big blinds. So Alex taking a after the first hand. All right, guys, if you're enjoying hearing these thought processes from both a low stake player and a league high stakes crusher, this is what we teach inside of our 5-day base camp. We help your thought process go from low stakes player who's winning to a high stakes elite player, to that type of thought process. You hear how consistent, how precise, how thought processes. And that's what we work on in our 5-day base camp. It's 5 days of interactive where we hold the fire, we hold this thought process. It's a way for opponents to come to the best decision in 30 seconds, in 45 seconds. When the money is on the line and everybody just watches you at the table, most poker coaching is just after learning how to set goals and how to actually at the table and have to make a big decision for a lot of money. So that's exactly what we work on in base camp. We're just going to do it for 5 days. No, we give you 2 months of supplementary support afterwards to make sure all of the information we help install into your brain doesn't fall out of your brain twice weekly live coaching calls, study groups, and if any of this sounds at all appealing, Alex is actually one of our coaches. So if you'd like to be coached by myself, by Devin, by Alex, check out our 5-day business. All right, next thing we'll be a one-point content again with the fish game cut off and winning the big round with 10 8 of spades. Flop comes 10 7 5 here, and we're going to kick it over to the players now.
Okay, so right off the bat, when the fish is specifically in the cutoff, it's like our ranges are obviously just going to be closer than if he was like on the gun and things like that. So we can actually have hands that connect with the board still. But all things considered, range is pretty wide. We have top pair, and obviously we have some backdoor straight draws, but I'm not like really doing much. I need that because top pair is often a good hand. The problem is that when you specifically flop top pair with like a 10, but like a shit picker, it's kind of like weird because you do need protection from like runouts that could get dicey. Like obviously we hate our life if like a diamond comes, like we can't withstand future streets. And then we also, all things considered, like there are scary cards on the turn that like really would not make you feel that great. For example, ace king, things like that. I don't know, like just the things that he wants to see that. Let's see, let's look at his sizing too. He's got kind of a big sizing on this board, which like realistically, I think I would do a mixing of like the question is I have to raise right now. Like, can I get better to fold and worse to call? That's like kind of what I'm thinking about. And better to fold, let's see, probably not. Worse to call, probably not. I guess I would just call. It's a big sizing. I mean, we can evaluate. Yeah, we can evaluate.
Turn is an offsuit.
Love that.
Check.
Okay, interesting. 100 into 175. So big size to half pot size. I feel like normally when I see this sizing from Fish, it's kind of like an in between. And that doesn't. It's not like aces, right? But it's also never going to be like it could definitely be a better 10. 100%. My mind is going, and I have kings, right? I think it's like I don't think it reads as like that. And I wonder if he double barrels, like for example, if he had like jack. Like I wonder if he ever double barrels on this turn. Ugh. Old. I'm gonna be honest. I think I'd probably fold. Yeah. I know that's like probably not the right answer, but
There's a right answer. We want to
okay. I think I'm fold. This is like weird. I think I have the worst. Oh, the river.
you got
Oh, I love it.
you know, they're not going to let you grab it.
Damn, last open is good.
75. I think it could just be third size the pot. I think it's just a number 50 on the pot. Indicative of that strength. I think the range is going to be some single pair hands, maybe some over pairs, and then some draws. Maybe some two Broadway type hands with a 10 in my hand. I want to just call, no reason to check this here, get more information.
So going to call, and we're going to a turn now, which is an offsuit deuce. Over, and now the cutoff goes 100 here.
Filling sizing, not super indicative of over pairs in my opinion. Like, it's kind of just right in the middle still, showdown value, and I think it could definitely be up. So
Fuck, I should have fucking double barreled.
yeah, play some bar Hansen style poker here. All here on the turn, play some Fifth Street Chicken, or maybe have some evil intentions on the river.
So going to call, we're going to a river, which is an offsuit 6. And we check it over, and now the cutoff goes 125 for one on this river.
Alright, so one touch and check. Let's ask, what is my opponent's range here? I don't think that this is too many sets or even over pairs like a hand like aces, kings, queens. So I think this sizing is more indicative of a 10. I'm not expecting them to triple barrel as a bluff at a high frequency, so not super stoked about calling here. I think calling is probably plus EV, but when I see this 1/3 sizing on the river, I think raising might be better. So I think I'm going to raise, trying to get this player to fold a hand like ace 10, king 10. If I did have a hand like, I don't know, pocket 6 over pairs, and then
How's the river?
You got your number, you get the number.
Oh, I love it.
You know, they're not going to
Yeah.
15 to 75. I think it could just be, even though it's 2/3 size the pot, I think it's just a number 50 on the flop. I don't think it's indicative of that much strength. I think the range is going to be some single pair hands, maybe some over pairs, and then some draws, maybe some two Broadway type hands with a 10 in my hand. I want to just call, no reason to check raise here, get more information.
So going to call, and we're going to a turn now, which is an offsuit deuce. And over, and now the cutoff goes 100 here.
Filling sizing, not super indicative of over pairs in my opinion. I think it's kind of just right in the middle still, showdown value, and I think Fisher could definitely be under triple barrel as a flop. So yeah, play some bar Hansen style poker here and call here on the turn, play some Fifth Street Chicken, or maybe have some evil intentions on the river.
So going to call, we're going to a river, which is an offsuit 6. And we check it over, and now the cutoff goes for 1/3 pot on the turn.
Alright, so bluff catching check. Let's ask, what is my opponent's range here? I don't think that this is too many sets or even overpairs, like a hand like aces, kings, queens, that are greedy. So I think this sizing is more indicative of a 10. I'm not expecting them to triple barrel as a bluff at a high frequency, so I'm not super stoked about calling here. I think calling is probably plus EV, but when I see this 1/3 sizing on the river, I think raising might be better. So I think I'm going to raise, try to get this player to fold a hand like ace 10, king 10. If I did have a hand like sixes, let's say, or let's say 8-9. If I had a hand like 8-9, I was trying to get max value from ace 10. I would probably go somewhere around 450, maybe 500 here. So I think as a bluff, 700. Try to get them.
All right, so we're going to check raise to 700. Final answer. 700, and we get the fold, and villain flashes king 10.
Oh my god, that's a legend.
I don't know. You lost no money. You lost no money on it.
Holy shit, I'm so good. It just reads. I was like, I don't know. I'm a gut player, okay?
Well, you could have got made more off of it. That's interesting.
So I decided to check call on the flop. But what I thought was important, there was a lot of time spent on range advantage and nut advantage. And I'm not saying these things don't matter, but they're probably 25th or 40th on the list of priorities, like playing against a recreational player. Right? There's just going to be so many more important things. Having us decide to check call, we go to a turn here, and again, just a lot of talk here about what our hand is and how our range feels. Or I think maybe a nitpick here. We should be a little more dialed in talking about like what our opponent has, what our opponent is trying to accomplish, and what kind of signals they have given us for the sizes they've taken with their betting pattern so far, rather than being so honed in on what our hand is and what our hand wants to do. So Abby's actually going to find a relatively tight fold here on this turn. We'll pick up Alex's decision here from the turn, facing a double barrel. Alex does decide to call on a very wet board here, but already he does not feel river when he checks, and opponent goes 125 on the river. Alex doesn't waste any time. He immediately goes into a bluff catching checklist and determines that he just probably doesn't have a whole lot of showdown value here. One of the things I've found, when opponents take this small size in position, it tends to be under bluff. Out of position, if they take this size, sure, it can be over bluff when they take this small size from out of position. But in position, generally under bluff because they can just roll check back and show if they have this. That's he's really, really dialed in here. Here I'm talking about, well, I think I possible on. I don't think this is going to be sets. I don't think it's going to be straight. I don't think it's going to be too many. And Alex goes for the check raise here. It's the fold, and then reveal in this hand is villain actually has king 10 of clubs. So I thought Abby played this hand actually pretty solid, making a pretty nice read to get away from it on the turn. But Alex just made a really, really nice play on this river, going for the check raise, just realizing this is what. So here's our results after two hands. Abby loses a little in this one. Alex wins a little more, and Alex hands. This hand 1.5 get effective 5-10 hand. We're going to open a open king high flush on a 10-4 deuce 3-spade board. Gonna kick it over to the players for their thoughts.
Oh, we spot that right away. Nice. I'm gonna be honest, when we specifically have king queen spades and not something like king nine spades or like something with less removable to the spade cards, that obviously decreases my opponent's draws that they could possibly have. It is important to note that we do not have the ace of spades, but it feels a little bit too optimistic to take it inside the targeting only the ace of spades. So
when board here, but already he does not feel getting to the river when he checks and opponent goes like 125 on the river. Alex doesn't waste any time. He immediately goes into a bluff catching checklist and determines that he just probably doesn't have a whole lot of showdown value here. And one of the things I found, when opponents take this small size in position, it tends to be under bluff, it tends to be value type. Out of position if they take this size, sure, it can be over bluffed when they take this small size from out of position. But in position, generally under bluffed because they can just full check back. Alex is really, really dialed in. Here I'm talking about, well, I think I may have a profitable call. Start check. I don't think this is going to be sets. I don't think it's going to be straight. I don't think it's going to be two pair. I think they'll be size. And Alex goes for the check raise here. It's fold, and in reveal of this hand, this villain actually has king 10 of clubs. So I thought Abby played this hand actually pretty solid, making a pretty nice read to get away from it on the turn. But Alex just making a really, really nice play on this river. So here's our results after two hands. Abby loses a little in this one. Alex wins a little more, and Alex is hands. Next hand, Bojack and a prime recreational players one call. We flop a king high flush on a 10-4 deuce 3-spade board and kick it over to the players for their thoughts.
cool, we just swap it right away. Nice. I'm gonna be honest, when we specifically have king queen spades and not something like king nine spades or like something with less removal to the higher like spade cards, that obviously decreases my opponent's draws that they could possibly have. It is important to note that we do not have the ace of spades, but it feels a little bit too optimistic to take a sign that you're targeting only the ace of spades. So I guess what I would do here is I would definitely bet small, especially to the board is quite unconnected. It's 10-4 deuce. It's not like or like there might be other draws that might get tricky. Maybe not on a 3-spade board, but you get what I'm saying. Like it's less likely that my opponent has like strong hands like sets or better flushes and things like that. So I would take a size to target that. I would probably bet $30.
So you go 30 and he's going to call. Return to see beautiful offsuit 7.
Amazing. I was worried about spades for a different reason, for a value reason.
He's going to check it over and back to you.
Yeah, I think this makes sense. The check, like he should be doing, even if he has like good enough flush here, right? So like with his entire, I don't expect to see a check, so that doesn't really surprise me. But the reality is we have strong hand and we just want to bet this for value. There's not too much thought that's going into this. I don't really think the 7 like of spades should have improved any of his hand at all. So when it comes down to it, I just think small sizing still makes sense. It's just so hard to get value in like this spot to me. So yeah, I guess I would go let's say 45. Yeah.
45. And he says, I would like to play for 4 chips, please.
Yeah, we're just gonna pure call this always in position, like literally every single time. I call it everything because I'm in position. It's if he's bluffing, like we want to keep all of his bluffs in, obviously, and have them stab river. And if he has a better hand, which like I mean realistically we're 1.5 effective, like if he bets his bluffs big on this river, which he should, I think, he should also bet his value hands big as well. So we're just gonna hear from both. Wait a minute, I forgot what I said. I think I might have just said value hands twice. But my point is if he has bluffs or value on the river, I think he's gonna choose a big sizing anyway. So I don't see how like we don't get this all in, like ever. You know what I mean? Therefore, or like we don't go all in. Like he might somehow have the better flush, obviously, but I'm just calling always. I think.
All right. Well, the river is an offsuit 9.
Yep.
And now it's 395.
Interesting. Yeah, we're just all in. Like show us a better hand. I don't know. Like we just have good hands. We can just be all in. And he's not calling with like just the ace of spades, right? So we're really targeting like maybe guys like spades or I just don't like maybe he's always played as those ace of spades.
over at the spade.
Well, I guess he has the ace of spades, huh?
Mm.
Ace high flush.
It's on top. Obviously, have the best lead to stand ball by here. It's probably like a pocket here, maybe like a 4x hand. So if I had to get those hands to fold, I'd go like around 50. So I think I could just simplify here, go just over half pot. Let's go $40.
And they call. And now the turn is going to be 7. And then in the big blind, try and checks it over.
Alright, this line points ring. All I think is pretty weak. We're gonna have a bunch of one pair hands, some one spade hands. Do they have inelastic hands here? Absolutely. They have a lot of 10x and some one spade combos. I'm gonna target those inelastic hands. If I had to get a hand like Jack 10 for the spade to fold, pocket 8 for the spade to fold, I'd have to go pretty big. So I'm gonna go to 25 here, targeting inelastic.
We're going to get the call. River is an offsuit 9. Our opponent checks it over 1.
Alright, trying right here to be a little bit more price sensitive. So what do I want to target here? I want to target their 10. Focus on the 10. So trying rec, if I had to give this guy full hand like 10 offsuit, what size would I go? I think that they might actually be a little bit more sticky on these monotone flops because there's some pretty obvious fluffs in range. So they're a little bit more price sensitive, but at the same time, I think they might get a little bit more sticky. So my incentives are starting to get a little bit complicated here. I think I'm just going to target a 10. If I had to get those to fold, I would go over bet